Hi folks, thanks for watching Thurston County Connection. Today I'm spending time with the directors of Thurston County Medic One and TCOMM 911 to learn more about the critical life-saving services they provide to our community.
Hello, I'm Kurt Harden, the Director of Thurston County Emergency Services. Emergency Services is comprised of Medic One and Emergency Management. Medic One is your pre-hospital emergency medical service. So when you dial 911 for a medical emergency, Medic One is part of the EMS process that sends EMTs or paramedics to your home. What we look at in Medic One is a tiered philosophy towards response. The first tier is citizen involvement. If you see something, if you see a medical emergency happening, we ask you to dial 911 immediately and then render aid. The second piece we like to look for from citizens is CPR training. We ask that you take some time, invest in your community, and spend an hour or two to take CPR hands-only training that could help save a life. The third tier that we have for Medic One is what we call our BLS, or Basic Life Support service or response. That's the EMTs that come out and help first. That's our first line of medical support. Our fourth line of medical support is paramedics. We have 7 paramedic units within the county, and they respond when there's a critical life-threatening situation that the EMTs cannot handle. So for Medic One, I'd like you to remember CPR training, and please contact the Medic One office to schedule a time for your free CPR training.
Kurt, thanks for being here today. Could you give us a little history of what's going on here with Medic One?
First of all, I'm happy to be here on the 45th anniversary of Medic One. It was founded in 1974. Medic One is 12 fire agencies, 2 private ambulance companies, 2 hospitals. And what we do is we provide pre-hospital patient care for individuals who are in need of medical attention.
Now, can you get into the BLS, ALS kind of and explain those acronyms for the public?
Sure. First of all, BLS is basic life support. People should think EMTs, emergency medical technicians, when they think BLS. For ALS, advanced life support, they should think paramedics. So for paramedics or ALS, we have 7 paramedic units in the county that's stationed strategically around the county. To do that and to staff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it takes 60 paramedics to staff those 7 paramedic units. For BLTs or EMTs, or BLS, or EMTs as we call it, we have approximately 550 EMTs across the county in the 12 fire agencies, and we also have 125 BLS first response units.
Now, because we've got all of that support, I guess, personnel, the logistics behind it and everything, don't we have a pretty good rating on survival here in Thurston County?
We do. We have a really good rating on survival. We average 10 to 15% higher on CPR survival rate than the national average. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, we have a tiered system. Our tiered system allows us to go ahead and first tier is citizen response. We ask citizens to recognize a medical emergency to, 1, call 911, and then after that, take appropriate action. That action could be CPR if it's a heart attack or cardiac arrest. Then our second tier is what we call our BLS, which I talked about a little bit earlier. Our EMTs are dispatched on every EMS call in the county. And what they do is they're the first ones on scene, they're the first ones, and they're the backbone of our system to provide that first initial EMS response. And then depending on the situation, we dispatch paramedics. But the paramedics dispatch about 10,000 times a year, and the EMTs get dispatched about 24,000 times a year. So we have about 34,000 total EMS calls across the county. But our 3-tiered system is what leads to our survival rate. But the key to that is citizen involvement.
And that's CPR classes that the public can take?
Correct. Medic One teaches CPR. We do CPR now, what we call compression only. It's about 1 to 2 hours to teach someone how to do that. And we find that when citizens get involved and initiate CPR when a cardiac emergency occurs, we find the survival rate jumps up, and there's a corresponding trend to citizen CPR to CPR survival or cardiac arrest outcome from the hospital. Now, a part of that also is that I will tell you, back in 1974 when we first started, there were 4 units that responded. And we ran the numbers here the other day, 230 calls in that first month. Last month we did 936 ALS calls or paramedic calls. You can see the jump in what we do and how we do it. One of the things that we found that's interesting though is our per capita call across the county based on population is the same in 1974 as it is in 2019. The difference is that BLS or EMT response that I just talked about. We have 125 BLS first response units across the county, 550 EMTs. Since they're our backbone, they allow us to be able to tier support and strategically place our paramedic units, which is a cost efficiency that still maintains patient outcome. One of the other things that I want to talk about is the training that goes in. First of all, a lot of our EMTs are volunteers. So if I want to make a message that I want to tell people is take a CPR class, learn how to do compression only CPR, but also take time to volunteer at your local fire agency, become an EMT. EMT class is about 3.5 months, whereas our paramedic training is about 18 months to become a paramedic. They're different skill sets, but I will tell you that the EMTs are by far the lion's share of what we do inside of EMS, and they're the true heroes out there.
Well, not only are they able to help out their local agency or their neighbors, but it might come in real handy someday for that citizen that knows the right thing to do in a serious situation with their own family.
Absolutely, and that we find that 74% of cardiac arrests or heart attacks occur inside someone's home. So knowing what to do when your family member has a medical emergency is critical. And again, like what we mentioned and we want people to do is call 911 first, or have someone call 911 while you're administering medical first aid.
Now, how does that work on the 911? There's also, besides making a 911 call, there's another way to communicate, and can't you have prior recorded information from your location that's already retained?
People call 911. TCOMM, and Keith will talk a little bit about this, but TCOMM will take that, it goes into dispatch center, they will take that call and they'll get the information to the EMS personnel. And then the EMS personnel will respond. And typically our response on the average across the county is less than 7 minutes for EMTs and paramedics.
Wow. Well, I guess we're going to hear more from Keith a little bit later over in the 911 Communications Center, but thank you very much for that information, and I think just listening to you make that presentation certainly makes people aware of how important of a service, the service that you provide to the folks here as the manager of our Medic One operation.
Well, thank you for recognizing the 45th anniversary of Medic One.
911, what's your emergency?
Here we are in the Communications Center with Keith. How many folks do you have working here in the call center?
So TCOMM employs about 65 employees. Of that 65, there's 43 that actually do the work here in this room.
And that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
24/7,
Even on
365,
Christmas, right?
even on Christmas, yes, sir. We've been providing service in Thurston County since 1978. That was our first year as a consolidated communications center. We do three things for the community, Commissioner. We provide all the service that answers and processes the 911 telephone calls. We also provide dispatch services for all the public safety responding agencies in the county, and we own and operate the public safety radio communication system in the county.
How many calls come into the center, say in a year?
We process about 400,000 calls a year. Those are 911 calls, non-emergency calls, calls out when we have to arrange for services. And then the other way we count calls is how many times we dispatch public safety agencies, where we dispatch units to respond to emergency situations.
Now, you mentioned that we're servicing all the first responders in the county, right?
Correct.
And that has to cost quite a bit of money.
Like most public safety agencies, TCOMM is funded by tax dollars. About 62% of our funding comes from a 0.1% emergency communications sales use tax. 30% comes from excise tax on telephones for the 911 service, and then 8% is miscellaneous revenue that we get from things like co-locations on towers and public information requests, that sort of thing.
When I started out as a first responder, we had something called low band, and then we made some adjustments, and that was like 40 years ago or more. And then we moved up to a high band, I think, and now it's going from analog to digital or something. It's surpassed my ability to be knowledgeable about the system, but that's kind of what we're up against. So we can share information and communication with other agencies in a pretty simplified process if we get the right equipment, right?
Right. So essentially we have a very high frequency band that we operate on. It is analog. This radio system has been in place since 1978. It's over 40 years old, and we've done very well in patching it and getting it to work to this point. But now we're facing end of life, and manufacturers aren't supporting key components to the system. So we need to look at an upgrade, and the agencies that we interoperate with around the region are digital. So Pierce County is a digital system, Washington State Patrol is a digital system, so it's time for Thurston County to upgrade to a digital system.
What's chances you could give us an update on something that gives the individuals some ability to have information already in place for when a bad situation might happen to them? And I think it's called E911 or?
No, it's actually called Smart 911.
Smart 911.
So thank you for that introduction. Smart 911 is really a very good product that citizens of Thurston County can take advantage of. And what it does is it provides an avenue for the public to register information that you'd want available to first responders when you're having a crisis or an emergency in your location. So you would get on smart911.com and you would register your phone numbers, whatever number of phone numbers you want to register. And in that safety profile that you're creating, you would provide all the information that you would want to share with first responders when you need or do call 911. And how that works is it's very simple. You call 911, we recognize the phone number that's being called from, and the public safety profile that you've registered comes up on our screens right here in the comm center, and all the information is available to us to share with first responders. It's a very powerful product.
Now that information is secure and strictly located in this location. It's not accessible by you're not going to sell a list to a vendor or anything like that. It's right here, and it helps that emergency responder respond quicker to your particular situation, whatever that might be. So if there's a code on your door or your gate, you might want to give that code. Don't worry, we're not going to give it out to anybody else. or you want folks to know that there's a big dog in the yard, but he doesn't bite, or be careful, he does bite. Maybe,
Right,
I don't know.
right.
And to watch maybe certain ways in or out, or somebody in the house is in a wheelchair. In case fire is responding to a situation, they will know to take a look around and take that extra precautionary measure.
Yeah, those are good comments, and those are all very good situations for individuals who would register on smart911.com. Of course, it is an internet service, but it is very secure, and then your information is only conveyed to us when you dial 911 from one of those registered phones. So we don't have access to any of that until you call 911.
And it's all voluntary.
Yes, totally.
Well, I mean, if you're nervous about it, wait till your neighbor does it, maybe.
Yeah.
Or wait until the fireman can't get in your driveway. Well, maybe it's too late.
We're too late.
Okay.
But you can put in as much or as little information as you're comfortable with in that online safety profile. So it's a very good product, and we encourage everybody to sign up for it.
I guess I just want to take this opportunity to thank you and all your staff, because without your staff, first responders are basically dead in the water. And those are our heroes out there on a day-to-day basis. But we couldn't do the job, those folks couldn't do the job without your support. So you're the behind-the-scene hero as well, with you and your staff, and we really appreciate everything you do, Keith. So
thank you so much, Commissioner.
Pass that on to your
Appreciate
staff,
it. We will.
Thank
you
you
very much.
Thanks for tuning in to Thurston County Connection on Thurston Community Media. For more programming like this, visit the county's YouTube channel or tune in to Comcast Channel 3.